Oh, my stars, Catherine. You should have been there last night. My husband took me to see one of them there fancy new moving picture shows.
Oh
I saw an
my.
ankle.
An ankle? Ma'am, how many ankles were there? Was it just one or two?
There were two. It was so scandalous. That girl just hiked her dress right up, and I swear I saw the bottom of her pantaloons.
My husband took me to see one of the shows, the vaudeville shows at the Saint Denis Theater, and they had these can dancers, and they lifted up their skirts. We
No.
saw their pantaloons and other things. My husband enjoyed that. He got a smack in the back of the head when we were at home, though.
Excuse me, ladies.
Hello,
Yes, sir.
Thibodeau, what you doing now?
Shut up, boy, and just watch. Ladies, do you believe in love at first sight, or do I need to walk by again?
Oh, God.
My
Goodness.
lord.
All right, all right. That wasn't to your liking. I got one more for you.
Now, come on, Thibodeau. You're going to make a
Shut
fool of
up,
yourself
boy.
again.
If you were a chicken, you'd be impeccable.
My
Sir, you
star.
need to move.
No. Hang okay. You gals are some high class broads. I got you. Baby, if you was a book, you'd be fine print.
Dang it, Thibodeau, you going to embarrass our mama? I'm going to tell her that you going to make a fool of yourself in front of the ladies again.
Bartender, I do believe we are being harassed by these low class gentlemen.
Yes, I would like for him to be removed from the establishment, if you please.
Please.
Sorry, ladies.
Wait, no, hang on.
I do.
Wait,
Scandalous.
wait. Any chance you have an
We-
extra heart? Because mine's been stolen.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Around the Campfire. This is one of our pre-recorded ones, so we're doing this about a week before it premieres, I want to say. About
Give
a
or
week or
take.
so,
Mhm.
give or take. We're very, very happy with the response for next episode, and hopefully you guys everybody enjoyed the last week's episode.
Which hasn't come out yet, so we have no idea if you liked it or not. That's the joy of
Hopefully.
pre-recording.
Yay!
That is the mystery.
And
The mystery.
on top of everything else, we are joined by a special guest.
Mm.
Woo! Say
What?
hello.
Oh,
We're a little shy today. That's okay.
it's okay. I'll get into it.
So some of you guys may know our special guest as Tiffer Joe on Twitter, or maybe Shiver Me Timbers if you are watching the mixed live stream. So there you go.
AKA Teacher Tiff. I changed my name.
Which is going to be really funny because I think when this episode premieres, we're almost to mix signing, but not there quite yet.
Almost. Looking forward to it though.
Yeah,
I
I think when this episode premieres, it will be right on the day before. The day
Yeah.
before his live signing.
No, it'll be 2 days. It's the 19th, and then his signing's on the 21st.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for anybody who hasn't bought a print yet, buy one.
Mm-hmm. By this point, our
Bye.
plan has already been announced, so that's underway and in the works, and we are getting that taken care of for you.
We're doing our best to help you promote it.
Yes.
So, Tiffany, why don't you share a little about yourself? I know you're pretty open on Twitter, but just for anyone who may be watching who is new to you, just tell us a little about yourself.
Oh, thanks. A little bit about me. Well, let's see. This is my 20th year in the classroom. Woo!
Woo!
Yeah, I feel like I've been doing it forever, which I practically have been doing it forever, but I work in an elementary school, and actually, I'll tell you, I'm a Title I teacher, which means that I provide reading and math interventions for children that just are struggling a little bit in reading and math. So I work in the classroom, and right now I'm doing a lot on the computer, which is interesting.
It's
I'll
its
tell you
own
that.
thing.
So
It's
I
tough.
so I have a daughter who is doing virtual school at the moment. So I can see things from the parent perspective, but from the teacher perspective, I mean, obviously nothing. It's like theater. Nothing will nothing will replace being able to be up in front of people.
Right.
But like, how have you bridged the gap between like teaching in person versus teaching on a computer?
Well, I think it's a lot harder teaching on the computer because you have to put so much more energy into it,
Mhm.
because the only contact I have with them is through a screen.
Yeah.
So you have to use a lot of, you just have to really put yourself out there to connect with them. And it's been difficult because there are some kids that I have never worked with in person this year. They've been solely distant since September.
Mhm.
So the only way to reach them is through this, through technology. And it's harder to plan.
Mhm.
It's a lot harder to coordinate. Like I know you are working parent, and we have a lot of working parents, which means they can't get on our live meetings during the day.
Mhm.
So we do a
Yeah.
lot of things that are pre-recorded, kind of like you guys do with the podcast, in video form, so that they can watch them on the weekends or in the evenings or when they're available to sit down and work with their child, and then they can watch the videos and just follow along with us from there.
Mhm.
We do a lot of what's called synchronous teaching, which is when we'll have students on the computer at home while we have kids in the classroom too.
Mhm.
And we're doing the
Mhm.
same lesson with both of them, so they can all interact with each other too.
Yeah.
And that lends to its own challenges, because there are days when the internet doesn't work.
Yeah, we run
Yeah.
into a few of those issues. There was one time that the school did a mass call, and they were like, "Yeah, no virtual students today because our internet is completely down in the entire school." And it's like, "Oh, good."
Yeah, it just shuts down for random reasons, and then you're like, well, now what do I do? Wing it. Go for it, see what happens. But yeah, that's what we've been doing. And we do a system. We have what's called fully distance learners, which are at home full time. And then we have blended learners, and our blended learners come 2 days a week and they're home for 3.
Mhm.
And they're again split into 2 cohorts. So you have cohort A, which is last name that starts from A to L, and then cohort B is M through Z. So even when you're in a classroom, like I go into different second grade classrooms, you may only have 5 kids on Monday and Tuesday, because the rest of them are either Thursday, Friday, or they're home the whole time.
Mhm.
So you never have an entire group of kids at the same time. And I'm used to walking into classrooms of 22, 23, 24 second graders, and trying to help the teacher manage them all. You got 5. It's a completely different world right now.
So do you
And
find the smaller classroom numbers a little easier to manage, or like do you prefer the bigger chaotic?
um, the smaller classrooms are a lot easier to manage, like behavior wise,
Mhm.
because you
Mhm.
don't have, all the different distractions. You just have like the 4 or 5 or 6 that you're focusing on. So that does make it a little easier. But I miss having all of their personalities in one room at the same time.
Mhm.
I miss having those 21 distinct little humans and all of their little quirks, their little idiosyncrasies, all the little comments they make, seeing the smiles on their faces, the joy when we're learning and we're doing fun things and we're doing activities, and seeing, when they get something and their faces light up. And with our in-person
Mhm.
kids, they're all wearing masks, and I can't even see them smile half the time, and it's difficult. It really is. I don't know. I just miss the whole school experience, and we're not getting that right now.
Nicola, are you okay?
Yeah, I thought I was gonna sneeze.
Oh,
Here's me
Oh,
just
okay.
ruining a moment again.
I thought you were like crying, and I was like, "Oh God, what
Oh
happened?"
no.
Like I'm very
No,
quickly going through, and I'm like,
You
second
you
grade.
would you guys would know I go red in the face, and it is hideous.
Hey, excuse you, I'm always red in the face.
You
Me
can
too.
sneeze all you want. You remember, I'm used to every other distraction in the book. I can just keep talking right over you. It's perfectly fine.
That's true. Okay,
I
so
always basically look like there's something wrong with me. So
I think you
and
look fine.
I forgot to set the timer again. My
That's
bad,
okay.
guys.
We're not that far in.
Nope, we're not.
Yeah, we're good.
at least the record button's on.
Fuck off.
No comment.
Fuck off. I'm, You know what? Just for that, I'm leaving that part in. I was going to take all that out and be nice to you, but I'm leaving
Like,
all of that in.
no, I almost streamed on my own YouTube, not realizing that I needed to switch over to the account.
Oh my goodness.
And I know that's completely different.
Well, you know what? It's fine because see, you've always had the thing of like you and Rob Weedoff share a brain cell. Well,
Yep.
now I have a similar excuse because apparently Tiffany and I have been sharing a brain, so we go back and forth between the two of us. And on that day, Tiffany had the brain, and fuck you.
If anything, I let Rob have it most of the time because he's a working man, he's got kids, so I don't really have any use for anything like that at the moment. So, well,
See, you're good because my brain shuts off at 3:15, which is the end of my official work day. I'm done. I have checked out.
Oh, well, then
So you're lucky I can keep a sentence together right now.
then we need to find who that third person that has control of the brain then, because on that day we were recording at like 5 o'clock, and so someone took the brain.
Yep. I don't know. Maybe we just keep it in a jar somewhere on a shelf so it's
our stupid asses probably left it in the jar, and we're like, I forgot something. What was it? Yeah, I'll figure it out later.
I got my phone. I got my keys. Oh wait, where's my brain? Yeah, it's in the jar.
Got my phone, got my keys, got my titties. All right. What am I missing?
It'll be okay. Don't need the brain today. It'll be fine.
That's fine.
I think my brain fell out my arse years ago. So,
Oh, well, yeah, there is that. Was that painful?
a little bit.
Was it like laying an egg?
Not quite. Not quite.
Just throw back to the chicken being impeccable comment I made earlier. And,
God.
I mean, not me. Sorry, that was Thibodeau.
Well, it could not have been as painful as Carl the Kidney Stone. Be
Oh.
honest with you there.
Yeah. So what was that like?
Someone had a red hot poker jabbing it into my right kidney. That's what it was like.
Oof.
If you've never had a kidney stone out there, folks, I'm telling you what, that was miserable. Okay. I would have rather have lopped off an appendage than have to go through that ever again. But he was such a part of me, I named him.
I made this. I put work into it. I made this for you.
It's a part of me now. Here, let me share.
Did you take him to a taxidermist?
They did give me a little specimen jar to put him in, so I could have kept him and made a little habitat, kept him in the bathroom. Made a little house for him.
It's called the kidney stone in his natural environment.
Exactly. It's was that David Attenborough and his nature documentaries? It was The Life of Carl the Kidney Stone. Hello. Sorry.
We are so ridiculous. Oh my god. So yeah, basically for those of you that are new here, first of all, hi, hello, welcome to the chaos of season 2. And that's pretty much been the definition of season 2 so far, is just pure and utter chaos. So Tiffany met all of us. We actually talked about this the other day. We're trying to remember exactly how we met. And I think it was just right place, right time, or wrong place, wrong time, I guess, depending on your perspective. And we just started talking and picked it up from there. But when do you think you started listening to our podcast?
Oh, I got to think back now. Now you're making me use that brain that we're sharing. Give it back.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. You were probably 4 or 5 episodes in season 1 before I started picking it up on Twitter and seeing you guys, advertising it. And I went, hey, I've been talking to some of these ladies, on Twitter, and I've been commenting back and forth. And I'm like, this looks pretty cool. I'll just take a listen. And I laughed my ass off. And I thought, these girls have something really good going here. I said, I'm going to listen to some more. So then I backed up and caught the ones that I had, missed previously. And I was like, this is really good. I'm just going to start listening to this. And then we all started, kind of talking on Twitter and chatting. And then it eventually moved into messaging. And now it's I get up in the morning, I'm like, oh, I got messages from the girls. And then
I mean, we know about Carl the kidney stone, so I
Yeah.
think we've kind of reached that point in the friendship.
We
Yeah.
have. Yeah.
We had an entire conversation the other day about like it centered
Oh no, no,
it centered
no!
completely around poop. So I mean,
No.
For God's sake!
look, I'm just gonna say this. Anyone out there who thinks that a group of women talking to one another is like pure and tame and all this, and basically what you heard at the
No,
beginning of
no.
this episode. Yeah,
No.
it's not like that. We literally like, yeah, so I shit my pants today and
Goodness.
I didn't
Disclaimer. Nobody has shat their pants. Okay,
Not
today.
tonight.
not at the moment.
Not recently. We're all
We
good.
wouldn't judge if that would happen, but
Yep.
Anyway,
I was about to say we better change the subject because I have so many poop the pants stories, but we'll move on.
We covered all those the other day. We don't need to go back and rehash the poop.
Oh, I didn't. No, I didn't. I scratched the surface on pooping of the pants.
Ugh.
should we put a disclaimer on this again?
Warning: this episode is intended for mature audiences. We probably should have put that disclaimer earlier. Oh well.
We
Then
tell ourselves that all the time.
Yeah, you got to put a warning on this.
But
Warning.
content warning: there is poop.
Yep.
Well, we just named this episode.
Content warning. There is.
Would they allow that on Anchor?
Probably not.
to Carl, that should be its name.
To Carl with love. He got evicted. I made him pack his little bag, and I didn't give him his security deposit back. No. I kept it for my pain and suffering.
Were there any damages?
We're not going to talk about the damages, okay? We're gonna
Just
leave
to,
that out.
I guess, just to give some of our viewers a little heads up, Tiffer had told us that when she had went to the doctor because she wasn't feeling well, they ended up finding a kidney stone. It's very small, but if you've ever
Mhm.
had kidney stones before, they can be very painful, even
Oh,
the
yes.
small ones.
And although, like in all actuality, we were all very worried because, like you said, you weren't feeling well, and then like the symptoms you were giving out, like when you and I talked personally the day before you went to the doctor, I even said, that sounds like gallbladder," and then you were like, "Well, I don't have one," and I was like, that's weird. And then like my brain just kind of shut off from there. You took it back, and then the next day it was like, "Oh, wait, no, that sounds like appendicitis." And I went, "That's the bitch." But see, I don't have an appendix, so I don't think about that anymore.
See, I do have my appendix. So I thought about that and went, oh my God. I said, I don't want to have to go through another surgery. I said, no. And then, Saturday, it just kept getting worse and worse. And I drove myself to the emergency room. And as soon as I walked in pain, the nurses immediately knew what it was. And they're like, okay, let's get you back. Let's get you registered. Let's get you set up. And, they were so good. I have to say, our local hospital here, just off the charts with how wonderful they were. And I mean, even though I was there 5 hours, they were really good.
Hey, they gave you morphine, which ended in a really funny conversation. So I mean,
It did, yeah. But it only lasted about 15-20 minutes, and then they had to give me something else because the pain was so bad. I went right through it. It was
Well, we are glad that you are okay, and we're glad that it wasn't appendicitis, because as someone who has had appendicitis, that is not fun.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And you guys were a big help. You guys were messaging me. My mom and my sisters were on another chat, and we were just, everybody was trying to keep me thinking positive the whole time, even though I wanted to curl in a ball like a pill bug and lay there and die.
A good a rule of thumb for appendicitis to kind of figure out which is just which is that with appendicitis it would be accompanied with intense fever. Like you'll be fine and then suddenly you will get an intense fever.
See,
and it's usually it's usually like with kidney stones you feel the pain in your stomach and around like your lower balls. Yes. Your lower bowels. Like
that
around your butt.
See,
But yeah.
when I had appendicitis, I didn't get the intense fever. What I got, okay, so so I woke up because I'm very much a night owl. So I was sleeping and woke up at like 8 o'clock in the evening, and my mom had made gumbo. So of course my fat southern ass was like, hell yeah, gumbo, and got a bowl, and then like my um intestines started to hurt, and I was like, okay, whatever, it's fine, like I have intestinal issues anyway, so like me hurting after I eat is not really unusual. So I lay down, and it was really intense, so I grabbed an ice pack because for some reason my brain thought that would help, and it did help. And so I put the ice pack on, and I fell back to sleep for a little while, and I woke up again a little later. I was up all night talking to a friend of mine, and it was like every time I walked, or like every time I took a step, that hurt. I couldn't find a comfortable position to sit in or lay, like to lay to get comfortable, because it was like everything hurt. But in actuality, that first little bit, like it was not that bad. Like it literally felt like mild menstrual cramps.
Mhm.
So it was like, okay, whatever. So then I was like, and because it's kind of lower, I was like, maybe maybe I'm fixing to ovulate or something, you know? And so I like went to work with my mom, and we ate food, and then I went to the doctor, like out, like we're talking like almost 24 hours later after the fact. And she the nurse was like, okay, let's test for something. And she put her hands on my lower stomach, and she pushed in, which hurt, but then she quickly released, and it was like boom, and I almost hit the floor. And so one of the big things that they test for is called rebound pain. So basically with an appendix, when you press in, it'll hurt, but if you pull back suddenly and it rebounds and like way more intense pain, that's rebound pain.
Ooh.
That's what they test for. And then I went to the doctor, and where they then had to do an intervaginal ultrasound just to make sure that it wasn't ovaries and all that, because that's all very close together. And then I went into surgery. Well, first they gave me Demerol, and that was an exciting adventure. I was laying there talking to my mom, and suddenly the drugs kicked in, and I went cross-eyed and looked my mom dead in the eyes and went, I heart Demerol. Just like that. I heart Demerol. And then I went into surgery, and the really weird thing is after I had surgery, a lot of my memory ended up getting really scrambled, because like there was this whole I didn't find, like I had this surgery when I was 17. It was like 2 years ago that I found out that I was in the hospital for 4 days, not 3.
Wow.
I don't remember eating. My mom just told me like a year ago that I ate while I was there. I have no recollection of eating.
Wow. See, when I had my hysterectomy, I remember pretty much everything
Mhm.
from the time that I woke up in recovery till I got to my room to the, I was there 3 days. I remember pretty much everything. Yeah, I can't imagine being out of it for 4.
Yeah, no, like
I remember giving blood. This was a good number of years ago. My friend remembers it very fondly because she finds it hilarious. But yeah, I was giving blood for the first time, and it went successful, and then I went to sit back down again, to have a rest. I think that's usually what the protocol is.
mhm.
But then I remember I had a biscuit in my hand, and I was talking to my friend, and then everything went double.
Mhm.
And I remember I said, like I said to her, I was like going, I don't feel good. I don't. And everything just
Yep.
started to go, and then I could hear her in the distance saying, "Oh, can you help my friend? My friend's not feeling very well. I think she's going to faint." And next minute, these two big burly guys came up and wrenched me off the chair I was sitting in and dragged me to the corner of the sports hall where they had this bed. And I think I just went out of it for like 5 seconds because I came to again and my legs were in the air. And I remember thinking, "Oh, hang on, whoa, what's going on?
Recalibrating.
Why am I in this weird ass yoga pose? I didn't sign up for this." And then the best response I got was from a friend. She was hovering over me. She says, like anybody in the UK will get this like little reference. Says, "Oh, thank God you're okay. I got that stressed out. I had to have another Nutri-Grain bar."
Mm-mm.
And I remember thinking, really?
Gee, thanks.
Really? She'll remember if she listens to this. Hi, Sarah. But it's she came out and then I think she had to run an errand and she had to like leave me sitting in the car. She says, "Are you gonna be okay? You could be okay. I'm just gonna be gone for 5 minutes. Are you gonna be okay?" And I'm thinking, yes, I'll be fine. I'm not gonna be crashed out on the dashboard when you get back. Be fine.
See, my chaotic ass would have like flopped over, like waited until she walked out, flopped over and gone like,
Just to mess with her.
Yep.
I think she says, "Oh, that was like so funny," and I'm thinking, "Thank you,
Nope.
thank you."
I almost passed out giving blood once.
See, I can't do it. I can't give blood. I wanted to. I can't. My anxiety will not let me. I can't do it. Can't.
All
Nope.
I know that since giving blood, I know I'm A positive. So that confirms with me that reference to a Doctor Who episode, like David Tennant's first Christmas episode, where everybody that's A positive is like poised on rooftops. I would be one of them. So that was the first thing that popped into my head for some reason when I found out. I'm thinking, why did that come into my mind?
See, I found out because like my dad is what they call a baby donor. So he's O negative and there's like certain viruses that he never picked up. So they could, in the event of an emergency, they could take him to a baby, like a NICU, and hook him basically directly up to the baby. And which is very rare. So he kind of instilled the need to give blood from a very, very young age. He, like every blood drive that was local, he was there. I found out that I was A negative. And I was like, of course I am, because I'm such a pessimistic person. Even my blood type is negative. And so that's been my running joke for a while. But yeah, so whenever I was in high school, they would have like blood drives and stuff, which I think is pretty cool because like you could get out of class and go give blood. And I'm like, those blood drive people knew what they were doing. Let's just siphon off the youth and give them a break from their class.
Plus, you got snacks.
You did.
They gave you snacks. Yeah.
So, like every time the blood mobile, as I called it, would come in, or portable vampire kit would come in, I would go. And there was one day in particular that I was at lunch with my friends and I was called onto the bus. And so I didn't get to eat lunch, which was not an uncommon thing for me. I pretty much ate I still do actually. Sometimes I forget to eat for like 24 hours. I'm not gonna lie. But I would skip lunch on it like a lot of the time. And so I went onto the bus, gave blood, walked out, and the school that the class that I had, they were redoing her classroom. So we were in portable buildings in the very back of the school. So I got off the bus, walked all the way to the back of the school, got into class, and it was English. It was English 4 because it was my senior year. And I'm sitting there, teacher's talking. We're reading through something, probably Shakespeare. I don't know. It was English lit, so probably. And I just remember all of a sudden, everything around me became pixelated. And I could still see shapes of people, but it was like that weird snow. Like
Mhm.
you know those things with the needles and you could poke your hand through and it would do like the embossing of your hand in them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I used to
Yeah.
stick my face in those.
I did too. But that's what the world looked like to me. Was like everything was just that embossed like through the needle thing. And it was
Mhm.
like, oh no, something's not right here. Wait a minute. And apparently like, I reached over because a friend of mine was sitting next to me and I just grabbed his arm and I said, get the teacher's attention. Something's wrong. And he looked at me and I couldn't see him at this point. And he raised his hand and he called for the teacher. And suddenly everyone in the classroom looked at me, which looks really weird in that pixelated thing. And all I can hear is everyone going, "Oh my God, she's as white as a sheet." And I was like, "Oh, that's what it takes to get the red out of my face." I have rosacea for those of you who have never actually looked at me like head on. So I'm always red. But I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
that's what it takes is almost passing out. So they called my mom and I'm just sitting there like watching this weird embossed world and I'm like, this is not cool. Is this what doing acid is like?
So you know what it sounds like to me?
Hmm.
That's what happens to me when my blood sugar drops.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. Welcome to being a diabetic too. It's not
Mm,
fun.
yeah, I'm good. You can have all of that. Thank you very much.
No, I'm just a walking health mess. It's a wonder I'm still on this planet, to tell you the truth.
Well, we are thankful for that because
Well,
we
thank you.
we have loved having you in our little group and all this stuff. So it's actually like it's an honor, genuinely, that you
Aw.
were able to come onto the show today and all this stuff.
Oh, well, I was
Hmm.
really appreciative when you asked me. I was like, "What? You actually want me to chat? I'm not that interesting."
Yeah, like okay, look, you have to understand most of my decisions are impulse decisions, and I was just like,
That's
hmm.
we'll go with it. We'll go with it.
Look, I'm just saying, Catherine and Nicola are saints because the amount of times I've been like, hey, I'm gonna go do this one thing, and they're like, okay. Hey, just so you know, I'm fixing to do something stupid. Stop me if you're here. Cool, no one's here. All right, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, usually it happens when it's maybe late at night or I'm at work.
Coincidence?
I'm working and stuff like that. So a lot of it's like, oh, okay. Okay. I mean,
Coincidence? I
there's
think not.
yeah, there's not much that we can do at that point if
Mm.
she's if Nicola's asleep and I'm at work and she's like, I'm gonna do this thing. And we're like, okay, you probably already did it. There's no point.
It's like, this is what happens when I don't have supervision.
Yeah,
She needs a chaperone.
I do. Look,
possibly.
I've been saying that for years because I get left to my own devices and I've got 1,001 thoughts and I'm like, "Hey, this sounds like it would be a great idea." And then I'll message somebody or everybody and be like, "Hey, stop me if you think this is a stupid idea." Cool,
I
no
mean,
one's here. I'm going to do it. And then
I mean,
afterwards I go, "Why did I do that?"
Well,
I
I
mean,
am an
like,
expert at chaperoning, let me tell you. You don't know
I mean,
how many field trips I've had to wrangle 8-year-olds through the zoo, okay? I got you.
I've got to the point in life when I say to myself near enough on a daily basis, I need an adult. And then it dawns on me fairly quickly, I am an adult. Okay, then. I need an older adult who knows how to adult better than me.
True, accurate.
Adulting sucks.
Yes.
I'll be
Yes.
completely honest.
I was
It's a
sold,
Adulting.
trap.
I was sold a lie.
Yes.
Sold a lie
A
from
false bill of
childhood.
goods.
Yeah.
It's like I was telling my kid the other day because I'm waiting on a W-2, which sounds like the most boring thing to talk about to 10-year-olds, but I was like, whatever. I was like, yeah, so I can get tax money. And I was like, Because I was like, taxes, the other boring part about being an adult. And she goes, boo. I was like, you have no idea, child. I was like, as a kid, I loved tax return time. I loved when my parents got their tax return because I'd always get $100 and we'd go to Walmart and I could buy whatever I wanted within reason, obviously.
Yep.
But no one told me that I was the one that was going to have to work for that money to come back.
Uh-huh. I know.
Told a
You
lie.
you just think the money falls out of the sky or off a tree or something, and then you're like, oh, I gotta set an alarm and get up and drive to work and blah. Yeah, it just kind of ruins the whole mystery of being an adult. I mean, like, why did we want to grow up to begin with? You just couldn't wait to get older, and then it's like, ugh.
I know why. Is because as an adult, we were promised you can wake up and you can have chocolate cake for breakfast if you want. Oh, sweet. I like chocolate cake. I like
Yeah.
Well,
chocolate
you
cake
can.
for
You
breakfast.
can as an adult if you want to, but
We were told no one could set our bedtime. We were told we could drink whenever we wanted. We could smoke whenever we wanted. We could do this. We could do that. It's like, aha, yeah, that sounds great. The problem is no one told you that, yeah, you can set your own bedtime, but that also means you're responsible for your own bedtime. And if you don't pay attention to that, you are fucked.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, sure, you can have chocolate cake for breakfast if you want to. You can have ice cream for breakfast if you want to. But then you start gaining a lot of weight and then you get fat.
yeah,
Which we're not here to body shame. That was not a body shaming
no.
comment, just for the record.
Nope.
All body types are beautiful, but like no one tells you these things, and I'm like, see, you should have led with that part.
It's like no one ever told me, in high school, oh, take this algebra class, take this calculus class, take this French class. You're going to need this. Nobody ever taught you how to properly manage a credit card or how to pay your bills on time or how to iron a shirt. I didn't get any of that information. I figured it out on my own.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I remember like the very basics of what I was taught in home economics in first and second year. And my home ec teacher scared the hell out of me. Mrs. Campbell. Mrs. Campbell was her name, and this is a UK reference for anybody in the UK. She kind of looked a bit like Deirdre Barlow from Coronation Street. She had the big glasses. She looked like an owl. And I normally wouldn't say boo to a goose, and I don't like it when people shout, quote unquote shout, and it goes about as far as somebody just raising their voice. That to me is shouting.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why I'm doing quote marks. Nobody can see me. But she scared me because she would always felt like she was picking on me because my partner was always off sick, so I was always on my own. So easy target. Pick on the quiet ginger one in the corner who looks shit scared. But I remember some of the absolute hideous concoctions that we would have to make. There was one, like, I think the first thing we made was something called Sunshine Susie, which was essentially grilled cheese with a bit of bacon and a bit of pineapple.
You had me till the pineapple. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, that woman scared me.
I'm sorry.
When I think about it, she almost kind of reminds me a little bit of Grimshaw. Yeah,
Dun, dun,
I think
dun.
that's why Grimshaw scares me. She's like an amalgamation of my old manager and my old home ec teacher.
See, teachers like that taught me what not to be.
Mm-hmm.
It was those experiences that taught me not to talk to my students that way and not to treat them like that and not to yell at them. It does no good.
I had a teacher, she wasn't my teacher. I can't remember how old I was. I was about 5 years old, 6 years old. So really little. I was out roughhousing with one of the kids in my class, and I think it was my cousin's teacher comes storming out into the playground, grabs me by the arm, and like yanks me. And this is how I remember it, at least. It might have been different, but this is how I remember it because it scared the hell out of me. And she dragged me into her classroom and was screaming at me and demanding to know why I was fighting. And I just remember like quivering like a little shitting dog in the corner, thinking,
You should
why
never
is this?
ever.
Why
yeah,
is this? Why is this scary lady shouting at me? I
You
didn't
should
do it.
never
I didn't
do
do
that.
anything.
Never.
I mean, I know for a fact now. Obviously, you can't put your hand on the kids
No.
anymore. Can't even shout at them anymore
Mm-mm.
because it's practices have changed, and this was like what, late 90s thereabout.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, even back then, and especially now, there is no positive impact to teaching through intimidation. You don't do it. Don't do it. With the world that we're in right now and with the situation that's going on, these kids need love. They need some comforting. They need to know that they're okay and that school's a safe place for them and that we love them. You don't ever talk to them like that. And teachers that do that, I want to smack them with something.
And
I mean,
really do.
I mean, in comparison to what my mum and dad had to put up with at school, because they went to school in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And at the time in the UK, corporal punishment was still a thing, especially in Scotland, because the method for corporal punishment in schools in Scotland was a belt strap.
Ugh.
And you would have to basically like put your hands out, one on top of the other, and then you would have to switch hands around, and each palm would get smacked with this belt strap.
See, ours was a paddle. And if you had a really cruel teacher, they would cut holes in the paddle.
I heard enough horror stories from my parents. It was more for my mum, really. My dad didn't really get the belt much. But my mum would always talk about some teachers she had at school, and she says some of them were maniacs. It's like, I'd give them a belt and they would wield it like a sword. It's like, and God forbid you'd so much as have to like look at the teacher funny and you would get it.
I may be a little older than you guys, which has been a running joke lately. I went to elementary school.
We don't judge.
I know. I went to elementary school in the early 80s. So I remember we had this one principal in my elementary school, and she would wait till the end of the week to do her paddling. And she would take the whole school out on the playground, and we'd form this big circle. And all the kids that needed to be paddled would walk up one at a time, and then she would paddle them, and then they would go back into the circle. And it was like this huge intimidation thing. And it's like stuck with me to this day. And I'm thinking, God, how did they get away with that? But you're right. The corporal punishment was the norm for so many years. And I can't even imagine, it. I still have nightmares thinking about that.
I will tell you, I had one teacher who actually used the intimidation factor to her benefit, but it ended up working out in her favor, because when I was in 4th grade, the way the school system that I was going to is designed is like 1st through 3rd were in one building, and then 4th and 5th were in a whole different section of the school. And then you went to an entirely different school for 6th grade, an entirely different school for 7th and 8th grade, and then an entirely different school for 9th through 12th, so high school. And so when I started at the school in 4th grade, and there was this one teacher, her name was Miss Phillips, and all we heard were rumors about how mean she was and how nasty she was. And she was so difficult, and she'd give homework on the weekends and all, the random shit that you find intimidating as a 4th grader. And and she looked mean. Like she was an older lady. So she was probably like in her 60s or so when I was like about to go in there. And of course, like when you're a kid, she may not have actually been that old, but when you're a kid, everyone over the age of 20 is elderly, And so she had like this kind of short black hair, and so she just looked mean. And so by the time we all got into her class, every single one of us, like I dreaded the fact when I found out that I had her as a teacher, I was like, oh God, this is going to be awful. And then like the first day, I was sitting outside waiting because we ended up getting to her class before she did. And we're sitting outside waiting for her to come and unlock the door. And I'm like, I look like a little chihuahua just like trembling in the background. And she walks up and she's like, hi, my name is Miss Phillips. And I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? So we get into her class and then like everyone's kind of like shaking chihuahua look. And she goes, why is everyone so scared? And we're like, because you're mean. And she goes, oh no, that's just a lie that I get my students to tell. So everyone behaves when they come into my class. She actually ended up being one of the best teachers that I ever had. She would do like group reading sessions. So she would get books and she would read to us, and like she would put on these voices, and she made reading and the idea of reading so much fun. And she would like work with all the students one-on-one if they had any issues. Like she was what a teacher should be. And that stuck with me. That stuck with me a lot. And yeah, so then it became fun for us to be the ones to tell all the fourth graders, oh yeah, she's mean. She's awful.
It's the ones like that that inspired me along the way, that keep me doing what I'm doing after 20 years, and I haven't quit. Because the average age of teacher burnout in the United States is anywhere from 5 to 8 years teaching, and then they're burnt out. So yeah, it's unusual for some of us to get to this point in your career where you're still doing it. And I'm still excited to get up every morning. I mean, I'm still, even though I'm not a morning person and I'm dragging in the morning, I got to have 2 cups of coffee to get anything done, I'm still excited to get to school. I want to see my kids. I want to do my lessons. I want to watch them learn. And I still, I'm taking classes to get a math degree right now. So I'm learning new things. And I've never stopped learning new things. And I do workshops all the time to learn new strategies and new techniques and new different things I can try, and learn from other teachers, and it's like little things like that just kind of keep me going. But, kind of like we said earlier, this whole thing with the pandemic has really put a hurting on teachers. We went from being last March and April essential workers and heroes and God bless you for doing what you're doing, to this point in the school year where we're criticized, we're commented on, we're bashed on social media for not doing our jobs. And it's just made it's really caused a lot of people in my field to retire, to resign early, or to take a leave of absence. And I know in my district we are hurting for teachers. We can't get substitutes, we can't get full-time people. Yeah, and it's been hard. It's been really
I mean, teaching in itself, like across the board, whether you're teaching young kids or even if you're teaching adults, like at college level, God knows what the stress levels like on like the ordinary setup. But then add like a global pandemic when everything's went online, that stress level would have gone up a tenfold.
It did. There back in the spring, I'll just use our experiences. March 13th, it's like the day the world stopped. Everybody keeps saying March 13th. We found out March 13th at 1:00 in the afternoon that we were going to be out for a couple of weeks because of the pandemic. We dismissed at 3:15. So we had a little over 2 hours to get everything packed up, to get things prepped, to get kids ready to go, to get ourselves ready to go. And then we were in limbo for over a month.
Yeah.
No training, no platforms to use, no nothing. And then our governor came out in about the middle of April and said that he was just going to make us remote until the end of the school year. And it was just like this devastating. It was like you ripped my heart out, to be honest. I mean, I'm thinking, I can't finish the year with my kids. There's no end of year carnival. There's there's no rewards. There's no class parties. I can't see them grow. I can't, prepare them for the next year. There's nothing. It's all gone.
It's like my little cousin, she's she would have left. She left primary school last year. She's just started high school. Tail end of last year. But she had the, like the end of primary 7, kind of essentially taken away from her, which is really sad. And she's spent the majority of her first year at high school online, so you don't have that organic, like being a first year in a Scottish high school, which you're usually threatened with the tall tales of, like on your first day you'll get bog washed, you'll get egged. You don't. But yeah, it's just such a shame that that's kind of like halted the student experience, so to speak.
Exactly. The whole social experience of school, because I work in an elementary school, we're pre-K to 4. All the social experiences, the emotional needs of the kids, you couldn't meet those either very well over digital platforms.
I mean,
it's
kids
just not the same.
I mean, kids, like especially high school kids, they wouldn't have got their the proper graduation ceremony. They wouldn't have got their prom. I mean, I didn't exactly go to my prom. I was on vacation with the family at the time, but I know that it was a big deal, for that experience. I mean,
for a lot of kids, that is that's the thing they look forward to. And I mean, like I remember in my school, prom was only for the juniors and the seniors.
Yeah, here too.
Yeah, so that may be a universal thing, but yeah, so like the joy of being a freshman and then a sophomore, and it's like, aha, next year I get to go to prom. And so for a lot of people, it's part of the high school experience. And for a lot of people, they lost out. And then like another thing that I think is part of the high school experience, at least in my opinion, is like by the time you get to your senior year, you've taken a lot of the necessary credits early on. So like one of the joys of being able to be a senior was you had less classes than everyone else, so you could either arrive late or leave early, and it was like to all the freshmen. And like it's very stupid and very trivial, but that's part of the experience of being in high school. And so for a lot of people, a lot of kids, they didn't get that.
They missed a lot.
Yeah, and it like that's part of the, so like their parents or their grandparents will be like, oh yeah, senior skip day, and they'll be like, what? All I did was didn't turn on my laptop that day.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I know at least in Scotland, I don't know if it's like this around the rest of the UK, because the education systems are different between each regions really. But on the last day in primary school, it's usually a tradition for the kids to get their school shirts signed by like everybody, from like teachers to everybody else. I've got mine from years ago, from 2005 when I left primary school, which is weird. But yeah, I remember that, and to know the fact that obviously my little cousin didn't get that. So,
and I think about my niece, and she was a 3rd grader. She's in 4th grade now. And I'm thinking about all of those experiences she didn't get as a 9-year-old, and this year's a 10-year-old. Now she was doing blended, coming 2 days a week, and then she was virtual 3 days a week. Now this 9 weeks, my sister is keeping her home, partially because of the new baby. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I have a new niece. She'll be 3 months old soon.
Oh my god.
I know, she'll be 3 months old on the 12th. So I
remember when that kid was born.
I know. I'm so excited about that. But yeah, she's keeping her distance, and partially that because the other reason is my state has like the 3rd or 4th highest infection rates in the country right now. We are near the top of the tier for infection rates. And so she decided to keep her home, to kind of keep her safe. So I'm thinking about all the things that she's missing, because you talked about moving on to different schools. We go usually pre-K to 4, K to 4, and then they go to the middle school, which is 5-8. So we do ours in chunks like that. And then your high school is 9 through 12. So I'm thinking she's going to go to middle school and she's going to miss all of this end of elementary school experience. Like we do a 4th grade graduation. We didn't get to do that last year, to send them off to the next thing. And it's just those little teeny life experiences that may seem trivial to us as adults, but to 9 and 10-year-olds, that's their whole world. And they lost it. And, I go to school and I see the kids and they're sitting there and they're 6 feet apart and they're wearing masks and they're constantly washing their hands. And, we don't have water fountains. They're covered. They brought in bottled water dispensers where you can put a cup underneath, and you push a little button and the water comes out and you can fill your bottle with it. They eat breakfast and lunch in their classrooms because our cafeteria isn't big enough space-wise for the amount of kids that we have eating lunch at that time. There's just so many things. We didn't have a Christmas concert. We did it virtually. Our music teacher did a wonderful job doing it virtually. And I'm thinking all of these things, and I look at it through her eyes. I look at it through my niece's eyes. I'm like, she's just missed so much. And, then I think about it as me as a teacher, I've missed all those experiences too. I know there'll be another class next year and hopefully it'll be back to normal again, but you've got that one little chunk of their lives that's missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, my kid's the weird one. My kid chose virtual because she's I wouldn't say antisocial. That's not the right word, but she's definitely more of a one-on-one, hands-on type thing. And like there are different programs that are specifically set up for virtual schooling, such as it's the K-12 program. A lot of people have heard that one. A lot of people enjoy that one. And then there's also I can't remember the name of it now, but there are certain programs and they are entirely virtual. But these are teachers that teach from their own homes. They have everything structured to be virtual schools. And so when everything went virtual, suddenly all these schools that are used to doing in person had to relearn how to do everything. And even when they were doing virtual, you would still have teachers going to the classrooms and all this stuff. Whereas like with K-12 or some of these other ones, there is no building. And so like those kind of schools, I think brick and mortar needs to learn from like K-12 and programs like that. And I think it could actually, help and benefit and maybe even like, I don't know, make things a little smoother of a transition, because as it stands right now, it's very chaotic and no one knows what they're doing and rules are changing constantly left and right and all this stuff. But I think in each student is different. And so it's about finding what works for that one kid. Like my kid, again, she gets very distracted in a classroom environment. So virtual actually ended up working out better for her. We tried to get her back into K-12, but the charter academy that they were going to, it was all booked up. So we couldn't get her back into that one, unfortunately. But it's one of those things of you have to find the good in every bad situation, otherwise you'll just go crazy. So
yeah. I will say that one thing that I have found really beneficial is when I usually do my intervention groups, I usually have 2 to 3 to 4 at a time. And they're all kids that have similar issues that I need to work on. Like this group of kids all have problems with comprehension, so I'm going to take them together. Maybe these kids need word skills, so they're going to go in one group. Now I'm meeting with kids one-on-one. So, it feels a little more personal to me. It does. I can make a better connection with exactly what their individual needs are because I see them a half an hour a day throughout the day, one-on-one on the screen. So that has been a benefit on my end as an interventionist. It has helped me out a lot. And you're right. We've had to adapt. We've had to become IT specialists.
Yeah.
Technology people. We have parents, who their Chromebooks won't work, or they can't connect to the internet, or they can't get this video to download, or they can't get the worksheet to come up. And then we have to try to figure out how to help them. So yeah, we've turned into like little tech gurus in my school, and it's really cool because we all kind of help each other. And while we're sitting here, I've been getting text messages from my co-teachers. Hey, how do you do this? I want to do this next week. So yeah, we've been working together to try to figure it out. So you're right. Something good has come from it. And I think this is going to be the direction that a lot of schools are going to, especially when we have these issues. Like here in my state, we have the snow days and weather days. We'll be able to teach virtually instead of just missing that whole day of instruction and then having to make it up in the summer.
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
So kids have like gone, oh, it's day off school. No.
Nope, not anymore.
No.
We haven't had one. We've had one that they called a climate day. And that was a couple weeks ago. But now when they say we're remote because of weather, it's like we will be doing remote teaching, so we work from home.
And so that's the other downside to that is it's like, man, like snow days were like the best days. Like this one day where you could stay out of school and you weren't going to get in trouble for it. And I was like, oh, well, I guess that's gone.
Oh, trust me.
I don't remember.
Have that call too.
I don't remember that many snow days when I was at primary school. There was a few at high school. One predominant one, I think it was either 5th year or 6th year. I think it was 5th year at the time. Senior, I was a senior at school, either way. But that was back in the UK. Again, reference to anybody that's in the UK, you would more likely remember the winter of 2010 when the entire country it was like the ice age. It was like the second ice age. But yeah, my head teacher at the time, Mr. Young, if he had his way, he would have dug the school out with his bare hands. He would have done that because nothing would close the school. All the other schools around about us would be closed. We would be like going onto like the websites to find out, is the school open? Everybody else would be closed. We'd be open. We would have to find a way to get in, whether it was walking, getting the bus, which was odd if the roads were closed. But he always made a way to get us in, and it was crap because a 10-minute walk became like almost a half-hour walk because I'm short and walking in knee-deep snow, it's exhausting.
You needed some snowshoes or some skis. You could have skied to school.
I think I remember hearing a teacher say something like, "Oh, you're a little bit late," and I'm thinking, "Oh, sorry, my snowmobile broke down." But
you know what's funny? So being in Louisiana, snow days are not actually like, it's a very rare commodity. So when we get snow days, it's like, fuck yes. However, what we do get, and this is drilled into my head, I will never forget this. Because we get a lot of flash floods, we get a lot of hurricanes, a lot of things like that. We have had to call school off for flooding. And it was like, I remember going to school one day, I was in 6th grade, and it was bright and sunny. And then all of a sudden, about 9 or so o'clock in the morning, bottom fell out and it started raining. And so they had to figure out a way to get kids out safely. But there was so much water on the roads and all this stuff that they actually had people in canoes, like coming to places and like getting people out. So yeah, we may not get snow days, but we get flood days.
I'm currently over here rowing, imagining you as like a 3rd grader in a canoe.
Apparently there's a snow grater somewhere in Scotland called Your Blizzard Harry.
You're a blizzard.
In fact, I think it was something I retweeted, and it was a map of Scotland and had all the gritters and what they're called, and some of them were brilliant, like Mary Queen of Skull, Salt, yeah, your Blizzard Harry, Gritty Gonzalez, a lot of them. I can't really remember half of them, but yeah.
Poor cat's been so quiet this whole time. She's just like listening to us chatter.
It's okay. Yeah, for the earlier point about corporal punishment, I've never went to a school that had it. Like all of the schools that I went to never had corporal punishment, but my partner, when he went to high school here where I live, the principal did have the paddle. And so if you got in trouble, he would call your parent and the parent would be like, yeah, whoop their ass, and they'd get spanked, depending on what it was. And I think after he graduated, they had stopped doing it, and that was like 2005, I want to say, maybe a couple years after, maybe 2008, 2009. Uh and yeah, I work at a school as well. And so, but I work in the clinic. So a lot of the stuff for the clinic is pretty much parents just complaining that they have to come and get their kid. But a lot of it is, well, I know my kid doesn't have COVID. I'm just like, I understand that. And I have to tell them, like, look, I understand, but a lot of the symptoms of COVID line up with a lot of other things like stomach viruses
Mhm.
or allergies or asthma or bronchitis or the flu or a cold. And it's just sort of like, I'm sorry, but we literally have to call and send this child home, you know like I have to do it because the risk is they could be asymptomatic or they could be actually be
Mhm.
sick. And there have been several parents that are like, oh, well, my kid's at home's quarantining because a family member tested positive for
Mhm.
COVID. And so we were with them for multiple days over the break and stuff like that. And so it's just, it's frustrating because on both sides, on the side of like the school and also the side of the parents, because I understand a lot of parents are in a situation where they can't have their kids be virtual, especially if they're like in elementary school or middle school. They
Mhm.
can't leave them at home because they don't have anybody else to watch
Yeah.
this child, and they have to work. They have to work. They have to work long
Yep.
hours. They work nights, stuff like that. So they really can't leave this child by themselves. And when it gets to high school, there's the whole they can't leave the child by themselves at school, at their home, because that child may be the child that is like, oh, well, my parents aren't here. I'm not going to log into virtual and I'm not going to go to school or catch the bus. I'm just going to, go and do whatever.
Right.
And that this quarantine kind of brought up a whole different issue of like disappearing children.
Mhm.
And it was a news article, but it's basically like the only way for some schools to get a sort of wellness check or understanding of a child's situation was being able to see them
Mhm.
physically at the school. So, you'll have kids that are in very poor situations economically. Both parents are working. They may live with like other family in like a house that might be barely big enough to fit everyone. And that kid is probably not doing okay. Like they're wearing uh very, 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 clothes that don't fit them, either too big or too small. They may smell a little strange. They may not be eating properly and getting most of their meals from the school for morning
Mhm.
and lunch, and always still hungry or tired. And that was how the school kind of found the kids that needed, I guess, a little bit extra more help
Right.
or time for whatever resource. But then quarantine hit and those children just basically disappeared.
Yeah.
You know, like they can't get in contact with their parents, they can't get in contact with any other family members. And it's not so much that the child is like missing, it's just that they just,
Mhm.
you know, the parents just aren't sending them to school. There's no reason to do so, or you know, because they're working, or maybe that child got sick or something, you know.
We
So
had a
it
lot of that
just,
too. Yeah. It's
yeah, like,
it's it's frightening because you're right, Catherine. There are kids that disappeared on us. They
yeah,
parents never answered the phone. They didn't turn in any assignments. They never contacted us, and it's scary because that's another thing I worry about, and that tears at me. I worry about my kids. They lead to my anxiety too. I worry if they're eating enough. I worry if someone's loving them. I wonder, if they've got a stable home, if they're warm enough, if somebody's caring
yeah,
enough to check on them. Yeah. And we're here lucky in my state that we have, and especially my county is really good at it. We have a feeding program that they can come pick up food, and they have since the pandemic started. They can come pick up a week's worth of food on Wednesdays at the school, at their home school. And it's all
yeah,
the stuff that we would serve for breakfast and lunch, plus snacks and other things. They even get things like spaghetti and spaghetti sauce and stuff to make dinners. And all they have to do is call the central office, and they put their name on a list, and they show up at the school, and they take home boxes of stuff that our cafeteria folks have prepared. So
yeah,
we've been doing that, and we did it all summer too. Our kids were
yeah,
getting fed. We were giving them, food. And I live in a rural state, so a lot of our families did not have internet access. So one of the things my
yeah,
governor did was they put up 1,000 mobile internet hotspots, and they used old school buses, and they used old school vans, and they put routers in them and parked them in all of these rural areas so that they could just pull their cars up or sit at a picnic table next to this bus and connect.
yeah,
Plus every child got a Chromebook.
I know
So
locally, well, sort of locally, we have a massive public library, and they actually went through and added extra routers and all this stuff to boost their Wi-Fi signal. So when everything was shut down and people couldn't go into the library, you
mhm,
could still show up. You'd have to sit in your car, but you could
mhm,
still show up to the library with your car and do schoolwork or whatever, just connect to their public Wi-Fi. And it was completely
yeah,
public. Like you didn't have to have you don't have to have a library card or anything like that. And the library staff would like go in, and they would, if you needed a certain book, they could get it for you, and then they'd leave it, like they would coordinate a time, and then they would just leave it outside. You'd come pick it up, and then you would just bring it back. And
mhm,
then you know we've talked about before, and we've said 1,000 times, and it's old news at this point. A lot of good has come out of it, but we have had to change the way that we do a
mhm,
lot. And I don't think any of us really knew or prepared for what
mhm.
exactly we would need to change until it started happening.
mm,
No, and like look at what you guys have done with like starting this podcast. Um, it was kind of brought out of the pandemic, really. Getting your message across, you have to turn to these digital mediums. And I've listened to you guys, and I've listened to some other podcasts, and really it's something, I don't know, it kind of takes the loneliness away. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. You
yeah,
feel like you're listening to folks, and you're communicating with them, and you're sharing their lives, and it takes away a lot of the loneliness of
mm,
being quarantined and stuck in your house. Which,
Yeah.
by the way, COVID sucks.
Mm. I think
Quarantine sucks.
yeah, I
Been
think that's
there.
the one uniting thing across all the boards, all political things, is COVID sucks. Whether the
Yeah.
folks or whatever, it's like I'm so sick and tired of hearing about it. COVID sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
who the hell started playing Jumanji?
Yes.
That is true. 2020 was basically. Did anyone else yell Jumanji at the New Year?
Yeah.
Because I did.
I
I
was just
did.
waiting for like the alien invasion because everything else had hit us.
Like the season finale.
Yes. Is Godzilla going to come out and like stomp New York? I mean, what's going to happen next? It was just one thing year right after another.
Well, if Mick can't get out and get a pint anytime soon, he may be the Godzilla that stomps out in New York.
That's true. That's true. Maybe we should just send him some pints through Amazon. Will Amazon deliver beer? I don't think
I
so.
think I think it will.
I think
I
think
think
I
it
might
depends
be,
on the place.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might be Godzilla if I still can't get a hold of a PS5, but that's
Oh,
another
that's- yeah.
subject.
Oh God, I don't even want to get started on
But
that.
ha-
one.
like half a dozen Godzillas or
Good luck
more.
with getting some of those.
Do you hear that sound? That is the sound of 1,000 gamers going, "Oh!"
Oh, yeah.
Don't remind me.
No. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I think by this time, I might actually get hold of one. By the time the next gen comes out, or
Yeah, that's true.
just after.
Now releasing the PS6. Oh, damn it, I just got a 5.
Right? Yeah. Like they would honestly be stupid to try and release something like that soon. They really honestly would, because like knowing good
It's
and damn well.
usually
Yeah, it's usually
it's
about 10 years
it's
apart.
usually about, yeah, like the PS3 came out 2009, 2010, a little bit before, maybe 2008. And then the PlayStation 4 came out 2011. No, not 2011. I got my times mixed up.
Was it 2013?
The PS3 came out like 5 or 6 years before the PS4. But yeah, I mean, they usually do it about 5 to 7 years. That's usually the life of a console, is 5 to 7 years. PC is about 2 to 3 years. Unless you like, unless you just like to, like me, you just wait until your computer doesn't run anything anymore and then you upgrade.
Then you upgrade.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Hey,
Yeah.
I just got rid of my PS2 maybe 2 years ago, and that thing still ran like a champ. I'm telling you.
Look, I searched far and wide and I finally found a place that sold like PS2s and all that stuff, and I drove 45 minutes away to go. Okay, it wasn't that far. It was actually like 30 minutes. But anyway, I drove like 30 minutes away to pick it up.
Oh, sorry. There it goes. I'm sorry, my phone was going off.
How
God.
dare.
Hey, I still have a box of PS2 games in the basement. What do you want? I might have it. Console died, but I kept the games. I was not, I loved some of those.
Some
I
of those
wouldn't
games
give
are
it
really
up.
hard to find now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, what were we talking about? Like I had every Crash Bandicoot. I had every Spyro the Dragon. Those were my jams. I'm telling you what. I'm telling you how old I am right now. But
Even Enter the Dragonfly?
yes,
Oh no.
I had them all.
Ugh.
Beat them all too. Thank you very much.
Look at you, you little avid gamer, you. No, let's see.
Beat 'em all.
The one game that I have not, I've been able to find most of the ones that I played, and I was able to replace them. But the one that I was not able to find was one of the Mortal Kombats. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it came out on PS2, and like one of the things is the vault was like this huge graveyard, and you could unlock with tokens. You could go to like grave to grave, basically, and get. I want that game so badly.
No, I don't think I have that one. We just now got around to downloading Mortal Kombat. Is it 11? Is that the latest one?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you can play
11.
as Freddy and the Joker.
You can
That
play
one's-
as Freddy and Jason and
Yep.
Bubba.
That one's a lot of fun.
I'm actually surprised that I'm actually really surprised that they allowed Jason to be in Mortal Kombat, given that it's right now going through like a really, really big, huge lawsuit.
Mm.
Um, yeah, a big lawsuit right now, between the writer and the producer over rights, basically. So I'm surprised that Mortal Kombat was able to get him in there.
I remember in college, just telling you how old I am, playing the original Mortal Kombat on Sega, where you had the little cartridge, and if it didn't work, you had to blow in it to get it to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, that was before the internet was big. So if you wanted all the special moves, you just had to click mash buttons until you figured them out.
Yep.
And my friends and I would sit down and we each had a spiral notebook and we'd pick a couple of characters that we really liked and we would figure out their moves and then write the combos down in the notebook. And that way, you could kick the crap out of your buddy because, I got all her moves. So that's how we did it old school. For those of you newbies out there listening, we figured it out ourselves, wrote it down in a notebook.
So I remember it was one of my old supervisors. I remember one time he said, this was a couple of years ago, he says, I can't believe Mortal Kombat is 25 years old. And I says, oh, that's the same age as me. And the look he gave me, as
Oh
if to
my
say,
God.
really?
Mm-hmm.
Says, I was already feeling old, but then you mentioned that you're, at the time, I was 25, so I'm level 27 now, so for now.
Another good one for Sega. This is why when I'm on Twitter and I pick on Mick a lot, Sonic the Hedgehog, man.
I hated that. I hated that.
classic.
I was rotten at Sonic.
I love Sonic the Hedgehog. I had Risk for the Sega. You want to talk about kind of boring?
That's true.
Yeah, the board game. They had somehow somebody thought it was a good idea to make it into a video game. Oh, no, it was no fun. I mean, if you're into strategy and things like that, it was interesting, but as a video game, I don't think it just really worked that well. But we had it, we played it.
Nicholas, stop.
Tried. Huh?
What?
Nicola yawned and it got me started.
Yeah, don't yawn.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How dare you?
Stop yawning.
Shame
Well,
on you.
I think we might be about to hit or close to the timer hitting, and Nicola is like falling asleep.
It's her bedtime.
It's past my bedtime.
No, you didn't say it. I need my bed.
Peasants.
But
Go to
yes,
bed, peasants.
but we're very happy to be talking with Tiff today. We've got a bunch of other friends and guests lined up for this season, actually. So I guess if we wanted to name it, this would be the season of Friends.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I do appreciate you guys having me. It's been a lot of fun. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I'd be chatting with some famous folks on a podcast.
Famous.
But it's been a blast.
And you're famous now too, Tiff.
I guess.
That reminds me. You gotta do your shout out.
Oh, I gotta do my shout out. All right. Hello, Ashley. I know you have to listen to this every time I play a podcast when there's no kids in the room. This is your shout out, girlfriend. That's what you get for sharing a room with me.
So yeah.
Enjoy it.
So whenever you guys hear us talking about Tiff and her anonymous, there we go, coworker, now we know her name and now she has her own personal shout out. So there you go. Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
Hello.
Peasants.
Hello, peasants.
There we go.
All
I
right.
had to have that in there. Hello, peasants.
Oh yeah. But yeah.
Hello, pip pip.
My God.
This is turning into a Southern goodbye if I've ever heard one. But anyway.
Oh, yeah. No, we Southerners, when we say goodbye, we'll say, okay, watch for deer.
Yep. But yeah, so
But yeah,
thank you so much, Tiffany, for coming on and talking to us. We really appreciate it, and we hope that you will come back.
Oh, glad.
yes,
Anytime you'll have me, I'd be more than happy to chit chat with you.
and
Mhm.
we'll see you guys in the next episode. But we'll also probably see you for mixed signing, which would be the weekend this this episode premieres. I'm blanked
Oh.
out on. I was thinking while I was saying that. But yes, this would be or this episode will come out on the 19th,
Yes.
and then the 21st is a Sunday, I think. So yeah, that'd be mixed signing. So both of us, like all three of us, or two of us, or maybe just one of us, depending on what's going on that day, will be there. So
Woohoo!
yeah, so we will see you guys then. Until
I-
later, au revoir, my loves.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Watch for deer.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Around the Campfire. We'd also like to thank Brett Van Dossel for providing the music. You can find him and his music at brettvandossel.com. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at CameoGang1899. We're also on Instagram at Around the Campfire 1899. You can find us on YouTube at Around the Campfire Podcast. See you around, cowpokes.